Hi, this is Noah from Provocateach, and usually when I'm interacting with Charlie, she's the one helping me with my creative journey. But this time she actually needs help with something that I can actually help her with, and that's the transition from a simple notes app like Apple Notes to a more complicated one like Notion. Um, and I actually went through this transition myself a few months ago. I remember that when I first opened up Notion, there was this pretty intimidating reading list template that just was so impractical. I mean, like, imagine putting the publisher of every new book that you want to read. Like that, yeah. So it definitely doesn't have to be this complicated. I'm going to show a few templates that are good for anyone who is in charge of multiple people to get started with. So that includes teachers or anyone who's in charge of a team. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, I'm about to say something very teachery, which is that before we dive into the specifics of Notion, we need to shift our thinking a bit about how we're going to use it. All right, so we need to get out of this mindset of let's adapt to what the app wants us to do, because Notion is a very free-form app. Really, the way you want to think about it is get Notion to adapt to your brain. Okay, this is your brain. It's a really great drawing. And your brain is constantly emitting thoughts of different types, right? You got some blue thoughts, you got some green thoughts, you got some red thoughts, right? Okay, you don't want to just try to put all of these into one like very complicated yellow bucket. No, not fam. What you want to actually do is adapt your buckets to the structure of your thoughts, right? So if you've got 3 different categories of thoughts, make 3 different buckets to catch them in, okay? So that's really going to be our focus, is thinking about what kind of things am I needing to put into my notes app, and then as you do that, you create the structures that are going to let you capture those. We'll see a specific example in a moment. To ensure a smooth transition from Apple Notes to Notion, let's create a place to drop all those, quick notes, the ones that you really want to just like jot down without giving it too much thought. Well, since it's replacing Apple Notes, let's give it an Apple icon, and let's call it the Scribble Catcher. Okay, we're going to do this as a database, and I know the word database sounds scary, but database just means an organized way of storing data on a computer. All right. Now, what we end up with is a list of pages. Okay, and all the pages in this database, this Scribble Catcher, are going to be quick notes that you take, right? So suppose you come across a really dope link. Let's say it's, I don't know, a link to a fantastic education creator, his really well-designed ConvertKit landing page. Well, you can just paste it in here, okay? And let's give this note a name, Cool Education Blog, all right? And voila, you have yourself a note. Now you can even give it an icon. We could upload, I don't know, maybe my logo. All right. And let's delete these blank pages. And you could just go like this, right? You could just, put in notes without any sort of rhyme or reason, just one after the other. But maybe you want to have a little bit better organization, okay? Well, in that case, here's what I recommend. We're going to add a view. A view, as it says here, a view lets you see the same database in multiple ways, right? So same information, different look. And this time we're going to add a table view. So table view is selected. And let's call this by category. Create. Okay, now this is kind of similar to Excel or Airtable if you've used either of those before. And all it means is, so this is the time that each page was created. And what we're going to do is we're going to create some categories, okay? All right. So let's say that this is a something I want to check out later, right? And that's where you might put a book, okay? So let's say someone recommends to you James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and you've never heard of that before, despite hanging around Barrett Brooks. So you would put that under the check out later category, and that's something else you check out later. Now, let's say that now you need to jot down a grocery list all of a sudden. Okay. Milk, eggs, pasta, bacon. Well, we don't have a category for grocery list yet, so let's make a new one. Okay. Now, if you find that you're, you also have a lot of random notes that don't fit into any category, okay, you can have an other category. But if you notice that the same type of note keeps showing up in the other category, right? So let's say that, you find yourself writing down a lot of future tweets, okay? Then it might be worth creating a new category, for future tweets, right? And I might even color it blue because, Twitter. All right, so, and this could be your entire note system, but I'll show you something specific to organizing meeting notes if you want something a little bit more sophisticated than this. Oh, also, in the by category view, we should probably sort them by category, shouldn't we? So we're going to create a new sort and sort by category. Okay, so now they are grouped according to what category they're in. And the old list view, let's rename that to by date. Okay, and we're going to sort these, you guessed it, by the date they were created. And I like to put the newest at the top, but you can do it however you like. Now, having a scribble catcher is all well and good, but so far we haven't gone that far outside of what Apple Notes can do. So let's create something that Charlie was asking for, which is a way to organize one-on-one conferences with people, okay? Let's call this one-on-one conferences. Charlie says meetings, I say conferences because I'm a teacher, And, I like to think of a good one-on-one as like having tea with a friend, So we're going to use a teacup as our icon. And I always think of meetings and conferences as things that are very time-bound. So let's pick a calendar as our primary view. All right, and let's suppose that I had a meeting with Charlie on Wednesday. Okay. Okay. And we can specify the time if we want to, but it's not necessary. Say it was a lunch meeting. And that was with Charlie. Okay. And that's what happened in the meeting. Well, that could be enough, right? We could just describe the meeting in the title and then just plop the meeting notes in the body. And that would be, you know, a pretty good system. If we wanted to make the system even better, what we could do is actually add a way to sort it by people. And in fact, this is something that I have done with my students because we're required to check in with the students in our advisory one-on-one basically every 2 weeks. I have to have a conversation with each student every 2 weeks. So I need a way of keeping track of that. So let's add a view that's by person. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have a separate ducklings table, okay? Just for, you know, the ducklings that we're in charge of. Okay. I don't know, that's what we call our students sometimes affectionately, even though they're in 10th grade. Yep, so we're gonna make that table, okay? Let's just add a few example names in there. Oh, and you know I have to give you guys icons, like it's so necessary. Okay, so let's, okay, there we go. This one's pretty obvious. Yep. Yep. Those are pretty exact representations of you guys. And, you know, other stuff that you can store in this duckling tracker, you know, email addresses, right? So you know, just put whatever you know, the email addresses are. Right, and any other data that you see fit to store here, you know, maybe like personality traits or things that you remember about their hobbies that you can use to connect with them. There's any number of possibilities for a table of people. It's always a good idea to keep a table of people. Okay, now what we can do is, let's go back to the one-on-one conferences thing, and let's say, and well, now we can actually, so let's add a field, or change the tags field to a relation field. Okay, so a relation field lets you reference rows of another database. We're going to reference the duckling tracker. Okay, and we're going to call this people. Okay, people who are present at the meeting. And I'm going to put Charlie, because it was a meeting with Charlie. Oh, and it doesn't show at the moment that who the meeting was with, so we're going to make it so that it shows that. There we go. Now it shows that it's with Charlie. Oh, and let's say that I have a meeting with Teddy coming up on March 2nd. Well, I just plop him in there. And here's the cool thing, right? I already have the meeting notes page available, okay? So it's totally natural to just right before the meeting, you know, don't even need to really open up an Apple Notes and like start typing in a blank note. You have this note available. You could just go into the one-on-one conferences calendar and you just click on it and you just start getting ready to type away. Now, if you want to make a real 5-head, 500 IQ move, here's what you could do. Create an actual template. For your one-on-ones, okay? So let's call this template one-on-one meeting, okay? And we're going to add a part of this called things I want to talk about. And then you just make a little checklist for yourself, things you want to talk about. Thing 1, thing 2, thing red, thing blue. Okay. So now we can schedule yet another one-on-one meeting. Goodness, I'm so popular. With Nathan. And we're going to use the template this time, one-on-one meeting. And voila. And you can even then just put the things that you want to talk about right here, right? So if I want to talk to Nathan about tiny houses and ebooks, I may have just outed myself as someone who lived when the eMac was a thing. You know, app design, so on. That's available for me, right? And there you have it. So we have a scribble catcher for, you know, just your random scribbles. We have a one-on-one conference tracker. Oh, and I forgot to sort it by person, but now we can do that. Voila. And we have a ducklings table that lets us keep track of all of our ducklings, and we can link it into any other databases that we need to. And this is pretty simple, you know. I think it doesn't necessarily, like, you don't need to keep a reading list that has this many columns, but maybe you want to keep a reading list that's just got a few. And I think what you will find is that as your tables and calendars and so on continue to grow, you'll start adding more fields to keep better track of them. But only those that work for you. And it won't feel like a lot of different columns because it's something that you designed for yourself. That's really the most awesome thing about Notion, is the fact that it can really adapt to the way that your brain works. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more by me, you can visit provocateach.com.